President Muhammadu Buhari has commended Governor Nasir El-Rufai for committing himself to changing the northeastern Kaduna state. Arise correspondent Nisi Gabriel reports that Mr. Buhari commissioned some of the state's urban renewal projects.
President Muhammadu Buhari's chopper is headed for Kafanchan. Accompanied by Governor Nasir El-Rufai, the president is greeted by cheering supporters who are pleased to see him in southern Kaduna. He commissions some road projects there. From Kafanchan, President Buhari returned to Kaduna to commission the remodeled Murtala Square, a sprawling sporting, events and recreational center.
I've been in Kaduna for all the time, but now I can hardly find my way. You have committed yourself to changing Kaduna, and you have been very successful. And people throughout the country are appreciative. So you are writing this in letters of gold. I congratulate you for your achievements in that.
The president commissioned some of the 19 completed urban renewal road projects, including the reconstructed Kawo flyover, a bridge where he was almost killed by Boko Haram in 2014, the dualized Yakubu Gowon Way, and Leventis underpass.
As we are going around, I've been telling you that you have a very sophisticated way of writing your own history. Now to the end of time, whoever comes to Kaduna knows that you've been a governor. Thank you for associating me with your success.
Governor Nasir El-Rufai launched the Kaduna State Urban Renewal Program in June 2019. Its goal is to regenerate Kaduna, Kafanchan, and Zaria, the three major cities in the state. Nisi Gabriel, Arise News, Kaduna.
Right, your thoughts on this? You want to chime in on this, the president's visit to Kaduna. This is the second visit to a state in a while. I think the first was Ogun State this year, and now in Kaduna. And he said very stellar things about both governors.
Yes, President Buhari was in Ogun State, where he also commissioned projects. Although after his visit to Ogun State, that caused some uproar. But I think that at the end of the day, there was some kind of realization that those projects are very important to the people of Ogun State, particularly the road linking Itokin, the Ijebu-Ode axis, with the Ekpe Road that Governor Ambode provided, making that axis easier for people to access Ogun State. And also that road linking Shagamu, and also the Shagamu roundabout, that legacy project there, and all of that. Okay, so the president has been in Ogun State, and now he's in Kaduna State. I think this is what happens when a president is coming to the end of his administration, or if you like, the end of his tenure. It's standard practice to make him commission landmark projects. And in Kaduna State, he has commissioned quite a number of projects. But in Kaduna, Kaduna is of special interest. He himself, used to live in Kaduna, and Kaduna has a special meaning for him. And for him to have gone there to commission projects, coming all the way from a trip to a West African country and going straight there, the inauguration of Adamu Barrow for his second term in office. And then he went straight there and commissioned the square. And he said he was impressed. That in fact he almost did not recognize that this was Kaduna, which is a space that is very well known to him. And that commendation for Governor Nasir El-Rufai, I think, should be something that should gladden his heart, because this is the president of Nigeria, a Kaduna resident, saying you have done very well. But in any case, nobody has ever criticized Nasir El-Rufai for not being proactive, not being, intelligent, not knowing the issues. Nobody criticizes him for that. You may not like his politics, but he's one of those shining lights that we have in Nigeria who understand what the issues are and who in ruling Kaduna which is the phrase that Nigerians use, ruling, or heading Kaduna, or being governor of Kaduna, has been able to make a difference. But as I said, you may not like his politics, because politics is one thing, leadership is another thing. So the endorsement of Nasir El-Rufai by the president, and with clear evidence to demonstrate that this governor has been able to make a difference, I think should gladden Nasir El-Rufai's heart. But there was one statement that the president made when he visited. Apart from these days saying El-Rufai is writing his history in letters of gold, well, some people may interpret that. I say, what's going on here? Is this the preferred candidate that the president is talking about, particularly at this time, that everybody is speculating about who will succeed him? But the other statement that he made is about nobody should think that they can impose themselves on Nigerians. I think that that's also a loaded statement. And the only way the president can make sure that nobody can impose themselves on Nigeria is to make sure that we have a transparent electoral system, an electoral system that works in the best interest of the Nigerian people, and that nobody can compromise, that nobody can manipulate, and that cannot be overwhelmed by even non-state actors. So the message is for the president himself. It's not necessarily for other constituencies, to the extent that the buck stops at his desk.
Right. We'll move on to the other story. Presidential aspirant and former Lagos State Governor Bola Tinubu has visited Minna, the Niger State capital, to consult with former military head of state General Ibrahim Babangida, saying that he was there to seek his blessings. The All Progressive Congress chieftain arrived at the hilltop residence of General Babangida at about 2:30 p.m. and the boat went straight into a meeting behind closed doors. Responding to newsmen on the purpose of his visit to IBB, the former governor of Lagos State said he was in Niger State to sympathize with the state over its security challenges and decided to visit the elder statesman to receive his blessings. Tinubu's visit to Babangida comes after similar visits to some influential power blocs and individuals across the country with the capacity to influence votes in the 2023 presidential polls. During his visit to Minna, Bola Tinubu donated 50 million naira to the Niger State government to help them tackle security challenges. He made the donation at the government house in Minna, where he met with Governor Abubakar Sani Bello. The statement by the Tinubu support group says the donation is similar to the 50 million naira that he donated to the families of victims of the recent killings in 2 local government areas of Zamfara State. Your take on this? Okay.
Well, presidential aspirant Bola Ahmed Tinubu visiting General Ibrahim Babangida. Well, there was a guest we had on the program, and we asked the guest that, look, is it that it is true that there are some persons who are owners of Nigeria? And that particular guest said, no, it's not that they are owners of Nigeria, but if you want to be president, you have to consult with persons who have been there. And in this regard, I'm referring to Senator Pius Anyamayo. Yeah, he was the one that was explaining the context of this kind of consultation. And it is good for you to consult people who have been there, to find out, to seek them out, to learn from them, or, to ask them, which way Nigeria is going. So to that extent, in terms of the explanation offered by Senator Pius Anyamayo, you can say that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you may not construct the visit as a visit to one of the owners of Nigeria. And we need to make the point that nobody should put himself out as the owner of Nigeria. Yeah. Because as I said in that conversation, Nigeria belongs to all of us.
Yeah, the people.
We are all stakeholders. My PVC does not have, any lesser weight than the weight that any other person's PVC has in this country. All I need to do is to go out on that day and make sure that I vote for the candidate of my choice. Because the danger about the narrative that some people are the owners of Nigeria, they determine what will happen in Nigeria, is that you discourage ordinary people from coming out and participating in the process. But there is no doubt that General Ibrahim Babangida is an important historical figure in Nigeria, and that there's nothing wrong in somebody, visiting him. And Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu visiting him on any other former president is a way of paying respect. You have been there before. I'm interested in the position. What is your advice for me? As for the money that he donated, well, I mean, you know, he's been involved in philanthropy one way or the other. I do not see a problem with that. I don't see that as a problem. It's not as if he's buying anybody's votes. He's just saying, look, I'm providing this level of support. And, you know, he has the right to spend his money the way he wants. But the only concern is this optics about everybody going to Mena, everybody going to Abeokuta, everybody going to Songo-Ota, or they are going to Utueke to go and pay homage. As long as it's not that people think that Nigeria cannot move forward unless a cabal sits down and takes a decision. I don't have a problem with that. We all own this country.
Well, that's
it belongs
exactly
to all of us.
Like.
That's
exactly what it looks like.
Well.
Okay. So for me, 2 points. The first story will be President Buhari going to Kaduna to commission a lot of projects. I mean, Nasir El-Rufai, the governor, has been doing a lot of urban renewal projects in Kaduna, which a lot of people have welcomed because Kaduna has that cosmopolitan outlook. You know, it was a city pretty much founded by the British, and they have been able to, you know, incorporate a lot of people. It's a center for commerce, you know, in that area, the northern region of the country, and it's quite very cosmopolitan. But I think the highlight for me was when President Buhari was talking about his attack on Kawo Bridge around 2014. And let's not forget that incident, because that incident was a watershed moment while we're battling Boko Haram leading up to the elections in 2015. It was attacked. There were 2 attacks that day. At first, there was an attack on the leader of an Islamic sect after he went preaching to his people and he was coming back in a convoy. I think over 40 people died. In fact, anecdotal evidence shows that the body of that person was covered in blood, but it was the blood of people trying to protect him. And then on Kawo Bridge, while President Buhari's convoy was going, somebody also tried to attack them. A couple of people, I think over 20 people died in that. Cumulatively, over 82 people died that day in Kaduna. 2 attacks, about 2 hours apart. The first attack was about 12:30, the second attack 2:30 p.m. He was in an he was in a bulletproof car. But I remember vividly the pictures of that car, how mangled it was. And President Buhari said that he didn't know how he got out alive. The point I'm trying to make is, if that happened in 2014, then has anything changed as regards insecurity in the country since that 2014? It just shows that things haven't changed, and that's why we must all come together to fight insecurity in this country. We should not allow it to get to the point where people are killed or people in high-profile places are killed. Every Nigerian that is killed matters. And that's why I'm going to make reference again to what is happening on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. It's not safe out there. People are being kidnapped every single time. And nothing is being done. They're paying ransoms around the Shara and some other areas like that. Even the old lonely road that goes from Abeokuta to Ibadan is also a kidnapper's den. And something needs to be done as regards the insecurity in this country, because that incident reminds all of us that nobody is spared. The man that finally became the president of Nigeria could have been killed in that bomb attack, same because of insecurity in this country. So something has to be done.
Well, nowhere is safe in the country. The president was referring to the Akilu Road on the Kawo-Kaduna Road, the incident in 2014. And I recall that the Jonathan administration provided the necessary support. But you are right, absolutely correct, that we need to continue to deal with the issue of security. That being one of the principal purposes of government, as defined in the Nigerian Constitution.
Yes. That's all on News Headline. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll have Rotus, Michael, Adesua, and Aaron Akejala to give us updates on Africa, global business, COVID-19, and sporting activities across the globe. Stay with us.
Here on Arise News, our dependable Rotus Adiri is here to give us an African business update. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Tunde. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Doctor. Good morning to all our viewers. This is day 3 of subsidy discussions. So if we recap, first of all, Ahmad Lawan, who is the Senate President, first of all, said President Buhari hadn't given anybody approval to remove subsidies. Then day 2, we talked about, so that was 2 days ago. Then yesterday, we talked about Lai Mohammed, Minister of Information and Culture, saying he's going on a fact-finding exercise to gauge government's exact position. So I take it he's on that fact-finding exercise now. And now day 3, the National Economic Council stated that fuel subsidy stays for now, but it could be removed before the end of the year. A bit of waffling from the National Economic Council, which, by the way, for our viewers, is constitutionally empowered to advise the government, the president, on economic matters. It is made up of the 36 governors of the 36 states of Nigeria, including the Central Bank Governor of Nigeria and other appointed officials. Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa and Governor El-Baseki of Edo State both briefed reporters after the National Economic Council meeting, which of course is chaired by Vice President Osibanjo, who, by the way, will be at the speaking at the World Economic Forum, the Davos agenda, later this morning. So looking forward to hear what Vice President Osibanjo has to say. So yeah, they met for 4 hours, and nothing came out of the meeting. They just said, and this is the thing that they keep doing. El-Baseki and Governor Sule, when they came out to talk to the media, they'll tell you all the bad things about the subsidy. El-Baseki said, well, we spent approximately 2 trillion naira on subsidy in 2021. It's not sustainable. Then they asked him, okay, what decision was made? He said, no decision was made. I want to take you guys back to May of 2020. Who remembers this? Let's put this cover of this day from last year. This was May of 2021. Do you see that? Governors, okay, full deregulation of petrol, 385 pump price. That was May 20th, 2021. El-Baseki was asked about this. He now said, well, no, it wasn't really the governors that did this. This was a committee within the National Economic Council that was headed, you were just talking about the El-Rufai a few minutes ago. Governor El-Rufai he chaired that committee, and they made this recommendation. This was May of last year. Nothing's happened since then. So it just seems to, again, there's a whole lot of talk and a whole lot of saying it's expensive, it's not sustainable. Who does the decision lie with? That we're just repeating the same thing over and over again. Anyway, moving on to the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. There's a bill that's passed the second reading at the National Assembly. It's basically the Securities and Investment Act of 2007. It's being, if it goes through, it will be repealed and replaced with Securities and Investment Act of 2021. I think Section 95, subsection 1, allows the SEC to seize assets, seal buildings of businesses that are not registered and essentially peddling Ponzi schemes. And they're doing this to protect investors. Now, how they do this, well, a lot of these Ponzi schemes are online, though. So, how you target that, we'll see. But it's past the second reading in the House. And then finally, Carry First. Carry First is a Africa-focused mobile gaming platform. They've raised about $20 million in new funding. NAS is one of the investors here. Also, Andrees Horowitz, who's a private equity firm that's very popular in the United States for backing startups. But mobile gaming has a lot of potential on the African continent. Carry First is essentially trying to aggregate that platform to be able to, get more mobile games in the hands of a large, what is it? Are we 1 billion plus, or what's the numbers of Gen Z Africans that are playing games and so on? So, it's very interesting. NAS made a lot of pertinent investments in its time moving towards technology. So that's our update.
Did very well with Coinbase. It's very
Coinbase, exactly.
He was one of the early investors and was reported to be making $100 million. Yeah. So he knows how to back a winner. We love NAS, don't you? If you're a rap aficionado.
Big NAS fan.
NAS is one of my favorites. I want to talk about the Ponzi schemes and the pyramid schemes. I have to stress that that's been included in this bill, which is extremely important. Because people look at Ponzi schemes as the more egregious of the two. It's named after that awful fellow, Charles Ponzi, the 1920s scammer. He went to jail for 14 years. So our jail term that's been proposed is 10 years, but also for pyramid schemes. So people should be aware that when they're recruiting their friends and family to these schemes, it's actually something that is considered so serious that we are passing legislation against it. So
Right.
people should really desist from that.
And influencers.
Yes, they need to stop it. People,
Yeah.
I love this bill and really
Yeah.
have to commend the sponsors of the bill. It's so important. It's not just a sort of social faux pas.
Yeah.
It's a crime.
Right.
And it's so important to stress it. Look at what MMM and so many other schemes have done to people's lives, really caused real damage to people, to the tunes of billions of naira. So I think this should really be stressed and really be commended.
And I think you said it just right on point. Multi-level marketing is another word they use for it out there on the street. Multi-level marketing, it has to be said. People need to go through it. I mean, no offense, there's some multi-level marketing schemes that could be genuine, but a lot of them are not genuine.
Right.
And most of these people use influencers like you've said. And I think also, I don't know how it's going to be fashioned, but it should also be carried on in such a way now that we should have more data protection and cybersecurity protection, because you see what people are now doing for these schemes is they hack your Facebook account and they use your Facebook account, if you're an influential person, to promote schemes like this. So that's what they're doing.
Remember when Bill Gates and Elon Musk was hacked, they said, buy my Bitcoin,
buy Bitcoin
all those other things.
So that's what they do. So I think that's another part of the bill that should be looked at, you know. But I'll also talk about subsidy removal. So you see, the truth is, I think it was Charles de Gaulle that said, politicians will say they'll build bridges where there are no rivers.
Right.
And that's what is happening here.
Yeah.
So, Rotus, we all know the problem. What's the problem? Subsidies. We can't sustain the subsidy regime.
It's expensive.
It's expensive. It's all of that. Yeah, politicians will want to be politically correct and they'll come out to say the right things. But Rotus, the best not to have pulled up this subsidy, if they wanted to pull it out, could have been maybe when the administration started a couple of years ago. And I keep saying this, that I dare any politician to say they will pull out subsidy a year.
Well, they've said it. They've already said it now. They've said it.
We'll wait till June and you'll see what will happen. Because their fear will be inflationary pressures will kick in. Now, they've gone back and forth as regards the pricing. At first, they said it was going to be over 300. Now, they said it was going to be 305. Yesterday, I was hearing they said, oh, it's not going to be 305.
Right.
We're going to settle for a price.
Right.
But they know that if they pull it out at this point in time, definitely it's going to be like a bait or like an ammunition, I should use the word correctly, in the hands of the opposition. And they are going to go straight at them and eat them up like Kobayashi at the campaign trail. Because inflation is going to go up, the hardship is going to go out there, and it's going to be like, oh, see what those people have done to the people.
Right.
So it is now politics overriding the interests of the people now. And that's what you're seeing. That's why there's sort of like a vote fast after the governor said this bullishly last year, and they are changing.
Yeah, but you can move they came up with the 5,000 naira cushion. There's a solution here. You can take the money and but look,
The can is getting kicked down the road.
Well, the thing is, there's a solution. You can
what is this echo in my ear?
You can move
the
money.
engineers take care of that. I feel uncomfortable.
Go ahead, Doctor.
Okay, very quickly. Let me deal with the subject of the subsidy. I think it's deja vu. Now, in 2012, we had the same situation. You to call it fuel subsidy removal. We call it deregulation of the downstream sector. The problem at that time was the timing. The announcement was made on January 1, 2012. And people just reacted and said, what is the meaning of this? You want us to start this new year with subsidy removal or deregulation of the downstream sector. And that affected, some people argue, the Jonathan administration's chances in the 2015 election. But you see, other things that are deja vu, in my view, include the following. Some of the people arguing for subsidy removal at that time included the governors. The governors wanted more money. And I think Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala had made this, obvious. But when the shit hit the roof, pardon my use of that expression,
yes,
they all ran back. There were key persons in the private sector who said, oh, this is not sustainable, this and that. Everybody made the economic argument. Some of them ran away when trouble started. So I think what the Buhari administration is trying to do is that they are approbating, they are reprobating. Maybe somebody had drawn their attention to the lesson of history. In May 2021 that you referred to, the promise was that the refineries will be rehabilitated and that a bus scheme will be put in place, which was the same thing that the Jonathan administration did under the Shopee program. And now, two major issues. One is politics. It's election season, election time. If you remove fuel subsidy, if you deregulate the downstream sector further, and you have fuel selling at about 3.28 naira per liter, you don't need a crystal ball to know the knock-on effects, the effect on the average individuals, and how inflation will shoot through the roof. That's one consideration. The second consideration is that this month, in January, the organized labor, the members have been very articulate and persistent in saying that if anybody removes fuel subsidy, there will be crisis in Nigeria. There will be chaos. Sometimes we don't trust labor, but sometimes you never know. You know, labor may be very forthright in what it does. The third leg of the matter has to do with the international community. You recall that the recommendations from the Bretton Woods institutions is that, look, with the U.S., with the Federal Reserve planning to increase rates for about 3 times this year, that this will have implications for developing countries. And one of the things that the Bretton Woods experts are recommending is that developing countries should remove subsidy. Now, where does that leave Nigeria? The Nigerians call it conditionality. A country that wants to borrow and borrow. And then number 4, there's no provision for subsidy in the 2022 budget beyond June. So what exactly is the National Economic Council telling us? If the subsidy is sustained beyond June, where is that money going to come from? We hear 2 trillion naira was spent in 2021. So how much are we going to spend this year? The bottom line is that there is no transparency. There is too much opaqueness. And it is sad that in this country there was once a committee that was led by Mokwede. I don't know why he's keeping quiet and he's not putting his knowledge and experience in this regard at the disposal of the Nigerian people. He led 2 different committees where it was discovered that this subsidy that we're talking about is nothing but rent collection, corruption, prebendalism. Okay, so is anybody looking at those reports? Have the 2 reports been fully implemented to make sure that the situation in which we find ourselves, because much of what we call subsidy in the downstream sector is artificial, it's corruption, it's rent collection, and there are documents in that regard. But everybody involved in that is keeping quiet, maybe because they are afraid of the current administration, I don't know. But the government has significant information that they can act on.
But they won't act.
Well, Rogers, thank you so much.
Well said, Doctor. Thank you all. Thank you. All right.
Moving on to more business updates. Michael Wilson joins us now from London. Good morning.
Very good morning to you. We end the week on a down session, basically. The question that's being asked is this bubble, which equities have been enjoying for quite some time now, actually about to be burst? I leave that question open. I don't know the answer to it. I'm just saying that's what the markets are actually saying. So Asia Pacific did not follow Wall Street down as far as yesterday, but stocks down in Asia Pacific, including Japan, the Nikkei down about 2%. Japan inflation data, core inflation up 0.5%. They won't worry the authorities too much. It shows that there is some activity within what is normally quite a moribund economy, but mainland stocks in China also declined. A report out just overnight saying that China's industrial performance may suffer. It's suffering basically from downward pressures, the normal kind of stuff, supply chains, COVID infections, and so on. But it's quite an interesting look at what is the world's second largest economy. So they're not. They say that one feels as though they're escaping from the effects of the pandemic, but they're not. Now, Evergrande, we've often talked about that. Apparently now it's actually hired a financial team and a legal team to work out what it's going to do to protect its itself against people to whom it owes money, and also whether or not it's going to repay its debt. So I think against the creditors and also the financial problems it actually faces, this is quite a significant move as far as Evergrande's concerned. I wonder if that's going to go through with the rest of the financial or the real estate sector in China. We'll see. Bitcoin down 7%. Now, Bitcoin, again, it's down because people can't cope with its volatility. That's what they're saying at the moment. And it's also, Ether's down to 8%. It's really basically also facing a lot of regulatory problems as well, which we all know about. So it's not really, it's still a gamble, as I've always said. It's nowhere to put your investments, and it's now suffering because of volatility. You would expect at a time when there is a great deal of uncertainty that people would actually turn towards Bitcoin. Well, they're not doing that because they're just finding similar kind of volatility there. As far as the United States is concerned, then let's recap that. The Dow was down 300 points yesterday, NASDAQ down about 1.7. And basically what you're seeing is Janet Yellen talking there. She's been backing what the President of the United States, Joe Biden, and in turn what he's been saying about, we reported this yesterday about the Fed. Basically everybody's supporting, slapping each other on the back and saying the kind of financial policy that we are pursuing at the moment is correct. What that is, well, a bit of a mystery, really, as we've often noted on the program. But they all seem to be looking at each other. As far as Biden is concerned, there is a lot of criticism this morning from Ukraine. If you remember, I was reporting yesterday that Joe Biden was saying that a minor incursion into Ukraine. He was talking about that. Ukraine saying, "What do you mean a minor incursion? What does that actually mean? Supposing what is it like 1 kilometer? Is it 7 kilometers? Is it 10 kilometers? Is it 25 kilometers?" Ukraine is saying it's absolutely time to stop small states not having an influence on where the rest of the world is going. So looking for a bit of clarity there. Also from the EU and NATO. The EU, I reported yesterday, Macron saying the EU ought to have its own policy with as far as Ukraine and Putin is concerned. They're still searching for that as we speak. I'm going to add to Netflix to what we were saying yesterday about the markets as well. Netflix down 20% this morning. It's quite indicative. It's still increasing its customers. It's still keeping up. It's adding streaming customers to it, but not the rate that the market actually expected. The margin's very, very tiny, and this is unfortunately the way these tech stocks are. As soon as there's a slight realization that they're not quite achieving what the over optimism of the markets is saying, then they're down. Netflix down 20% today. Biden, we talked briefly about that. As far as the UK is concerned, Boris Johnson appears to be surviving as we speak. However, that he's been accused of blackmail. In other words, what his critics are saying is that it's actually said that, or the government said, it's going to not send government funds to areas whose MPs are actually against the Prime Minister. That's quite a serious thing, but it shows how this debate is going at the moment. Yesterday, let's talk about Unilever. Yesterday, I was telling you that they're not going to increase their bid for the GSK unit above £50 billion. Well, everybody's now saying, well, that's fine. So there was a shareholder revolt. You actually reviewed the figures again. You're still sticking with your 50 billion, but nothing's happening. Moribund company. What's going on? Where's the plan B? I think there's a lot of executives will be looking at this and thinking, yeah, if we do anything like that, it's just as well to have a sort of fallback position. And as far as oil's concerned, well, I have to say I'm confused about what oil's doing now. Very mixed messages there. The oil price is down. You'd expect it would have risen up, basically, given the constraints that there are on the supply of oil around the world. But it looks like oil is looking at what's going on right now and saying that's going to be a reduction in demand. I don't necessarily agree with that. I thought it reduction in supply is more likely, but there we are. But long term, it looks fairly bullish, and we're still looking maybe at that at that £100 per barrel estimate that Goldman Sachs are putting on it by the end of the year. I would, however, just as I did yesterday, draw your attention to the United States, and it's as soon as that price starts going up, then it makes shale more economic to actually do, and to shale oil to extract, and that's what's happening in the United States as we speak. That is the global view.
All right, thank you so much, Michael. Michael, I'm sure I'm vindicated this morning, because I sounded off that something was obviously wrong in China. And when you talked about the fact that manufacturing productivity had slowed in China with this year report, then I'm asking again, what is really going on in China? Will China come clean? I'll talk about, I've got a lot of things to talk about, but I just narrow it to Netflix now. So I'll talk about Netflix. Could it be Netflix dropping 20%? Could it be as a result of the fact that Netflix is increasing the price of subscription in Canada and America? Maybe that's not going that well with the customers, and they're revolting, and they're not renewing the subscription, and the numbers are not going up. Could that be the case?
No, I think Netflix is actually going through what a lot of companies actually do. It's not declining. It's just, what my point is, it's not actually going as fast as its more optimistic shareholders would actually like. That's why it's down 20%. I was bringing it to your attention because it's those tiny variations that have such massive effects on share prices. It's the way that tech works at the moment. We've always said that, haven't we? That it always tends to multiply what it actually does by future profits. You talk about price earning ratios and so on. They're completely out of the window as far as I'm concerned. I think it's a shame that Netflix is actually doing that, because there's no question that what its streaming devices, as with the other streaming companies, they're completely changing the face of the media as we speak, or at least the consumer part of the media, not necessarily the news services, but streaming is actually changing the world as we know it. So I'd bet on it long term. I'm just pointing out that these little variations happen fairly quickly, and your investment can suffer massively, as it did yesterday with Netflix down 20%.
Okay, I guess with Netflix, what we're dealing with is forecast for the first quarter of the year. Netflix not seeing the kind of growth that was forecasted previously. And in any case, it shows the effect of competition. There are other competitors, Amazon, Apple, and those other companies playing in that space. With a total last year of 222 million subscribers, I don't think that Netflix is in a place where it has to panic. But I wanted to ask you about Evergrande, China's Evergrande. They say they've recruited financial and legal advisors. What else can these financial and legal advisors do, particularly now that you have a group of bondholders in the United States who are threatening to go to court to challenge Evergrande? Evergrande has changed its headquarters. It has moved to another place. But nobody is taking any serious step to address the challenges faced by this biggest property development company with the largest debt of about $300 billion facing it. So you have recruited financial and legal advisors. What else can they possibly do? Now, the other issue has to do with Twitter. Twitter has introduced an hexagon-shaped NFT profile picture as a tool, the non-fungible, tokens. And you talked about Bitcoin earlier and the volatility of Bitcoin, and you've been consistent in that regard. But here you have Twitter investing and promoting cryptocurrency, promoting Bitcoin, introducing tokens. What do you make of that?
What I make of it is, Doctor, stay clear. Do not get involved with it. It is still on the periphery of people's concerns. It's not an investment. It's an adventure. Non-fungible tokens. I mean, what is all that about? Is that about art that destroys itself? Is that about something that you can't actually touch, but you buy a share in it? I mean, honestly, I really don't think this is part of a serious discussion. And I'm not sure that Bitcoin is. I think that digital currencies are very important. I don't think think Bitcoin, and I don't think Ether is. And if you want anything to show how it actually works, you see what's happened down, what is it, 8%, 7%, 8% overnight as I was reporting. That's what it's doing. It is so volatile still that it's an adventure. It's a casino. It's not an investment. And the same with NFTs as well, as far as that's concerned. Evergrande, I still maintain, well, yeah, I mean, here we have the world's largest real estate property in default, and it's the largest default of a real estate property in the world. What will the Chinese government actually do about it? I stick to my original thesis about this. Yes, they're hiring a financial team. Why did they not do that a long time ago? Yes, they're hiring a legal team. They must have internal lawyers dealing with this, surely. I think you're absolutely right. I think what they're trying to do is to reflect what's going on in the rest of the world that may have an interest in it. I still think it's a really, really serious problem for the Chinese economy, because if it's stopping people spending and it's reducing their confidence in the property market, some people don't have a lot left. It's often one people, just as a lot of property owners around the world, people, ordinary people, it's the biggest investment that they ever make. And if you start eroding that, then you get into problems. I still think that the Chinese government, the PBOC, the People's Bank of China, will probably sort of engineer a kind of gentle disintegration of this. That's as far as it goes at the moment. But I quote the news to you merely because that's what's happening, and I think it's really for the outside world more than domestic consumption.
All right. I'm sure the Evergrande team too are thinking of how to hire a PR team. Maybe that'll also help them in all of this. Thank you so much, Michael. For updates on COVID-19 pandemic, Adeso Omora is here with us. Adeso, great to have you. Morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rufai. Good morning. Good morning to Noor, and good morning, Dr. Bati.
Good morning.
Well, let's take a look at these COVID-19 pandemic figures for the last time this week. According to the Johns Hopkins University tally, over 342 million infections so far. At least 5.57 million people have died from this virus, and over 9.7 billion doses of vaccines have been administered so far. Well, here in Nigeria, 123 new cases and 6 COVID deaths were reported in the last 24 hours. There was no data from Lagos State, the epicenter in the country. However, Edo State, the south state, saw the most infections, posting 38 new cases for the day. Now, Ogun State in southwest Nigeria, beg your pardon, has moved to the 3rd position in the latest vaccination rankings by the NHPCDA, with 22% of half of its eligible population now vaccinated against COVID-19. Nasarawa and Jigawa states are the top 2 ranked states in the country at the moment. However, Adamawa and Katsina have also seen an increase in vaccination to move upward, while Benue, the Federal Capital Territory Abuja, and Plateau experienced drawbacks, according to the agency. The rankings rate governors and their states in the efforts to mass vaccinate their eligible citizens against the coronavirus. Well, the WHO says cases of COVID-19 have sharply declined in Africa, and deaths are declining for the first time since the emergence of the highly infectious Omicron variant. Newly reported cases fell 20% in the past week ending 16th of January, while deaths dropped by 8%, except for North Africa, where there was a 55% increase. You recall that Algeria also took a decision yesterday to shut schools for 2 weeks because of the increase in cases in that part of the continent. And of course, Dr. Mashitizo Moeti, who is the WHO Regional Director for Africa, is also warning that the continent has yet to turn the table on the pandemic, with low vaccination rates and lack of access to COVID-19 therapeutics. Well, nearly 30 generic drug makers in Asia, in Africa, and in Middle East will make affordable versions of Merck's COVID-19 pill under a landmark UN-backed deal. This, they hope, will give 105 poor nations wider access to a drug seen as a weapon in fighting the pandemic. However, I must remind you that there are questions about Molnupiravir, which has shown low efficacy in trials and has raised concerns about side effects when you compare it with Pfizer's Paxlovid. The deal stipulated that a course of 40 pills for 5 days is expected to cost $20 in poorer nations, and that is far below the $700 per course the United States agreed to pay for an initial delivery of 1.7 million courses. Well, in other stories, Austria has become the very first European country to make COVID-19 vaccines compulsory for people aged 18 and above. The lower house of parliament passed the measures yesterday. Now, from mid-March, the police in the country will start random checks with 3,600 euros or $4,084 as fines for those who are unvaccinated. The measures are to be in place for 2 years. Exemptions were made for pregnant women and, of course, those with medical conditions. Finally, it has emerged that the unvaccinated, controversial tennis star Novak Djokovic is actually is a controlling shareholder in a Danish biotech firm hoping to develop a COVID-19 treatment that does not involve vaccination. The CEO of the company, which is called Quant Biores, it's a Danish company, like I said, revealed that Djokovic bought the 80% shares as far back as June 2020. He's making a case that the tennis star is not an anti-vaxxer. It comes at a time when he was deported from Australia for not being vaccinated to participate in the Australian Open, and at a time when his participation in other Grand Slams in the year remain in doubt.
That's just business speak. We don't buy this. Whatever he's saying, anybody can invest in any business because they know there's a good return. So I'm sure probably Djokovic invested in that business because it was the thick of COVID and he knows that if they had a breakthrough, they'll make tons of money, just like the likes of BioNTech and Pfizer made tons of money from the vaccine. So that doesn't mean that his convictions are different, you know. It could even be his portfolio investing. I mean, big stars like Djokovic obviously will have portfolios investing on their behalf. And they'll just probably look at it and say, okay, what's the next best stock? Okay, this is a company that's working on COVID and all of that. What is on ground as we speak is that Djokovic doesn't believe in vaccines. And because of that, he has truncated his own chance, you know, to compete in the Australian Open and probably other events. And that is what is on ground. This is a man that got COVID in June. If he was not a vaxxer, if he was not an anti-vaxxer, he should have gotten his vaccine after June. He got COVID. But no, he waited till December. He got COVID the second time, and he's done nothing around it now. You know, he's not been vaccinated. So people should stop peeing on our backs and telling us it's raining. Anybody can invest in anything. It's money. It's not about convictions here.
Okay, with regard to Africa, yes, whereas we've seen a spike above 20% in many parts of the continent, of the world. In Africa, the case fatality ratio is relatively lower compared to other parts of the world. John Inkengansong, you know, was telling us this the other day. That's the head of the African CDC. But there are challenges in Africa. You know, the take-up rate is still relatively low. Access to the vaccine is also relatively low compared to other countries, other parts of the world. Vaccine hesitancy is also very high. And even when we receive these donations, many of these African countries do not have the capacity to administer them. So the figures may be dropping within the last 2 weeks, the third wave and the fourth wave. But African countries and leaders still need to pay more attention. The only luck we have had is that Africa has not ended up like the disaster zone that was predicted in this particular regard. Now, you talked about the MEC COVID pill. Now, 105 nations, countries that are referred to as low and middle income countries to benefit from this through the MPP, the Medicines Patent Pool. Sometime last year, I think in November or October, MEC, when they came up with Monopiravir, which is the drug that they came up with, sub-license, you know, the drug to MPP. And MPP further sub-licensed it to other countries. And these countries, some of them are to provide, about 13 of them are to provide raw materials. Others has to produce the drug itself. Others are supposed to do both. And the whole idea behind this, which is something we should welcome, which is in line with WHO expectations and recommendations, is to increase global access to vaccines and to reduce the extent of vaccine inequity that we have. But I looked at the list of some of the countries. 3 African countries showed up there. Egypt was there, South Africa was there, Kenya was there. I didn't see Nigeria. My concern was, where is Nigeria? Is it that we cannot also produce ordinary pills, vaccine pills in Nigeria, whose main effect, we're told, monopiravir, is to reduce the replication, of the of the coronavirus within persons. So if there's anything that Nigeria can also do, to get onto that list, that would be welcome. In another news, the chairman and CEO of Pfizer, Albert Bourla, that's his name, he has been given the Genesis Prize for the courage, the confidence that he has shown in helping to come up very quickly with a COVID vaccine. And you recall that Albert Bourla rejected attempts by the United States to provide subsidies support because he didn't want the bureaucracy. And Pfizer, BioNTech came together and, they came up with a vaccine that has been in use. And it will be maybe the 19th person to take the Genesis Prize, which is given for contributions to humanity and also for promoting Jewish values. Because the Genesis Foundation is a Jewish foundation. And Bourla said, he said, dedicating this to his parents, who were, 2 of the persons who survived in a village that the Nazis tried to wipe out. 2 of the 2,000 people that the Nazis wanted to wipe out. And he has also dedicated the award to a community called Thessaloniki in Greece, because it's originally from Greece. And so you see people being encouraged for making an effort to save the world. And I think that is commendable. Just as at the same time, it is important to continue to remind Djokovic that he's joking. Djokovic is joking. He should go and take the vaccine.
But he won't. I want to talk about Djokovic. I'm a fan of Djokovic, I have to say. I really enjoy his tennis. But this is the thing about public figures. You have to be quite specific about what you like about them and what you don't. I'm not going to hang out with him and have tea. I just enjoy watching him play. But he's been very clear. He has said he is opposed to vaccinations. He used that word on Facebook Live. So this statement by this gentleman is not accurate. And I think Djokovic himself, his camp has yet to comment on this update that we've received now. He is an anti-vaxxer. He said that. And at the time, the leading epidemiologist in Serbia led a backlash against him for saying that, because I believe they have less than half of the Serbian population vaccinated now, which is a lot less than even Austria at 72%. And look at the law Austria is even passing. They've done quite well at 72%. So at that time, he was criticized in Serbia. Never mind the fact that they've now closed ranks around him, because I think now the enemy is now Australia. But he was, and then he had to clarify that statement. When it was time for him to clarify that statement, he dug his heels in even further, talking about how he believes in the body's metabolism and the body can fight out invaders. And I just thought, spoken like an elite athlete, because your body is in tip-top shape and your body can take on, bullets. Doesn't mean it's the same for everybody else. He is a self-proclaimed anti-vaxxer. So I'm not sure what that statement really is about.
Thank you so much, Adesua. And he's just lying.
Thank you,
I don't
guys.
care if he
next
donated about 2 million to people in Serbia when the pandemic started. I don't care that his donation is made to different COVID causes. He's an anti-vaxxer, and he should go get jabbed once and for all. Thank you.